If you've just downloaded the SoPa cuisine and you're not sure where to start, this video is for you. I'm Justina from Practices Academy, and I'm joined today by Nisha, our head tutor for OCS. Nisha leads all of our OCS material. She marks student mocks, she provides written feedback, so she knows this exam inside out. And in a moment, I'm going to hand over to her for a selection of highlights from our full industry analysis. But first, a bit of context, especially if you are new to OCS, since this is the first case study that probably you're taking. In the OCS exam, you're stepping into the role of a finance officer at SoPa Restaurant Group, a Latin American casual dining chain in a fictional country of Zealand. The exam gives you a case study in advance, and on the exam day, you receive tasks that require you to write professional responses as if you were a finance officer. So the more you understand SoPa and the world it operates in, the better placed you are going into that exam room. Now, industry analysis is not something that you'll be directly tested on. There is no question that asks you to recite the market size or quote some figures of your competitors or what are the names. But here's why it matters anyway. When you understand the industry SoPa operates in, your answers stop being generic. You start naturally referencing the real pressures, real trends, real comparisons. You write like someone who actually understands the business. And that's what separates a solid pass from the borderline one. So in this video, Nisha is going to walk you through the casual European dining market, how Latin American cuisine is growing across Europe, and how that's relevant to SoPa, who the real competitors are that you should have in the back of your mind, and the financial benchmarks, so you can see exactly how SoPa's numbers compare to the industry norms. It's about 18 minutes. Grab a coffee, have the cuisine open next to you if you can, and let's get into it. Over to you, Nisha.
Welcome everyone. So today we are walking through the industry analysis for your CIMA OCS May and August 2026 operational case study session. So you already know what the cuisine is all about, the company. So it's a casual dining chain and there is 9 restaurants in Zealand. And what does it serve? It serves Latin American inspired cuisine. So let's understand what we're going to discuss today. So we're going to look at the basic overview of the industry. So there are 15 sections. So we're going to talk about the basic overview of the industry. We're going to look at things like what is the general consumer behavior within the industry, what are the market drivers, the technological aspects, sustainability related aspects, supply chain, then key success factors, challenges. Then we'll look at the regulatory environment a bit. Then, of course, we'll be also looking at things such as the Porter's 5 forces. We'll be looking at the SWOT analysis. Then we'll look at financial benchmarks, company profiles, then specifically Latin American company profiles and news and events. So let's jump into the contents of it immediately without spending too much time on the introduction. So first of all, the industry overview. So if you look at the basic overview of the industry, let's start with the overall big picture. So we are really talking about a very massive global food service industry because this sat at 3.7 to 4 trillion US dollars in 2024. So this is a lot. And if you look at the European restaurant market itself was 670 to 870 billion US dollars. Now, if you look at the growth projections up to 2030, it is expected that the industry is going to grow at a 9.6% compound annual growth rate. So that means the industry is going to grow, the industry is going to widen out as the industry goes on. So therefore, the European market is expected to forecast is having a forecast of 1.5 trillion US dollars by 2030. Now, I'm not expecting you, or your examiner is not expecting you to remember these numbers. Now, this was based on both Fortune Business Insights, Mondo Intelligence, Statistica, so a couple of sources. These sources can change, but I want you to have a general idea of the industry behind. That's why this information is given to you. You need to understand, is this industry growing? Is it contracting? So you don't have to remember these numbers. These numbers can be subjective, they can change. So therefore, we need to think of how does this information matter to us? How it matters to us is because we are considering, SoPa is considering international expansion. So we need to think of, if we are to internationally expand, will there be demand or will there not be demand? Based on the aspect that the market is growing, this is a tailwind. We can expect growth, there will be demand, so therefore it's good. If you look at the market structure, majority of the market structure is held by independent operators in the UK. Chains such as SoPa are starting to grow faster, but right now the popularity is with independent stores. Then if you look at the next aspect, full service restaurants. So the largest segment by revenue in Europe relates to restaurants that offer the full segment. So this is basically SoPa segment. And if you look at the fast casual or the quick service segment, this is also growing fast as a sub-segment. So that's something to keep in mind. And the major chains of maybe some of the quick service fast casual are companies such as McDonald's and so on. So the basic idea is the industry is growing and the industry therefore is very attractive. If you look at the consumer behavior and dining trends, moving on to the next slide, we can see that Europeans are spending around 6.7% of their household budget dining out. So that's a good thing. And in the EU's big 5 countries, the spend is actually up 10% versus 2019. So there is a growth. There is a growth. So growth is good, and we are in the European region, so this is good. But however, if you notice, the visit frequency versus pre-pandemic, that means around 2019, has declined by 10%. So people are going out less, but they do go out. So this can mean a couple of things. It really tells us a lot why they are spending more. It can be, yes, partly due to inflation, but also partly due to what they are into spending on. Maybe they are looking for an experience. Maybe their value perception has changed. So this can tell a lot. Maybe if you compare the two, the greater spend, the less going out, this could mean that consumers are really looking for value. They're willing to pay a premium. Consumers are looking for value. So they are willing to pay a premium for something authentic, which we do offer. So for an example, our Latin dishes might justify a premium price, and we can position ourselves as an authentic offering, which they might be willing to pay more for. Then if you look at the dietary trends that are reshaping, around 25% of Europeans identify themselves as flexitarian. So the consumption of meat is reducing, and the concept of being vegan is growing, as well as alternative things such as gluten-free. So these trends should have an impact on our menu development. So the question is, are we taking this into account? Do we take this into account? For an example, are we offering gluten-free meals? Even for those who have nut allergies, are we offering alternatives. That is very important. We need to look at our menus. We need to reshape our menus to deal to a variety of different customers. And the most significant or the most relevant statistic for SOPA is that the Latin American and Mexican cuisine is the fastest growing ethnic cuisine in Europe. So that's definitely a plus, very applicable to us, and definitely we should try to make use of this. If you look at brand loyalty along with tourism impact, European loyalty programs market. We can see in 2024 it was 46.8 billion, and 55% of Europeans say they value loyalty programs and they are willing to join loyalty programs. So that's another aspect we need to consider. Since we are not, the pre-scene doesn't specifically say we have loyalty programs, I would consider this an untapped opportunity for SOPA. So something I want you to note down, it's an untapped opportunity. So what can we get from consumer behavior and trends? Number one, we need to make sure our menus are including inclusive meals for those who are gluten-free, those who are flexitarian. And also we want to look at maybe having our own loyalty programs as well. We have financial benchmarks. Now, this isn't something you need to really pay close attention to, but just to give you an idea of, if you look at full service restaurants, casual dining, fast casual, and if you look at SOPA, you can see the gross profit margins are around 45 to 75%. But ours is the lowest you can see, it's at 32.6%. But if you look at our net operating profit, it's higher than what a full service restaurant would have or a casual dining restaurant. So this is actually a signal that we are managing our overhead cost well. So overhead cost manage well. And as I mentioned earlier, probably why we see our GP margin low is because of the Latin American ingredients might be more expensive, but we are keeping our other costs low, so we are able to stay competitive. Labor cost is not directly given in the pre-scene, but labor cost is a significant cost factor. That's something you can mention. Then if you look at earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization, again, it's about 13% here. And then the average revenue per site, ours was $4.9 million. It varies widely with different rates, of course, depending on the size. So the key main two things I want you to focus on is GP margin, operating profit, and of course labor cost and revenue. You can remember as a general thing to keep in mind. So this is just a good idea to see how we are doing in terms of the real world numbers and whether we are doing good or we need to improve. Moving on now to real world company profiles. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on these. For an example, this Wagamama, Nando's, they're not direct competitors. They are structural competitors, but not in terms of Latin cuisine. But you can see these are some of the big names. So I encourage you maybe spend time, go through them. Maybe you can go through also their websites just to see what they offer. Do they have loyalty schemes? How do they position themselves? All of this is very important. Then you have two more competitors here. So you can do the same thing. Look at what we can learn from it. And of course, Vapiano is a good lesson for us when it comes to maintaining a discipline, unit economics, maintaining our cost. We need to always talk about when we have expansion plans, how are we going to manage our cost? more than these two slides, what I recommend is actually even going through their websites. See, now we spoke about a lot of things: green initiatives, technology, sustainability. We spoke about maintaining costs, loyalty schemes. Have a look how these restaurants do that. In addition, if you look at the Latin American cuisine restaurants as well, so you have Oaxaca, Las Iguanas, Tortilla, Club Mexicana, and Bohom. So all of these are, now these are specifically Mexican based or Latin cuisine based. So you can look at what their menu is. So I would say go to their websites, look at what their menu is, look at their initiatives, look at what they're offering, because these can be very important to you. So, for an example, Oaxaca is carbon neutral certified. So, that is their sustainability related aspect. Then, if you look at some of the companies like La Iguanas, it's acquired by Big Table Group. So, they have an all day menu. So, look at these companies and see what you can gain from it. I don't want to read what's on the slides again, because this is basically giving you some pointers for you to do your homework, basically. Next, basically, if you look at the statistics of Latin American cuisine in Europe, you can see the global Mexican restaurant market. The global Mexican market is expected to exceed $67 billion by 2025. So, hopefully, it did. And at an 8% compound annual growth rate. If you look at the Peruvian cuisine segment, again a part of the Latin American market, it was forecast at $27 billion by 2030. So, if you look at just England alone, that was over 820 Mexican restaurants. You can see this cuisine growing. And 56% of consumers say they are willing to pay a premium for not just Latin dishes, but authentic Latin dishes. So that's something to keep in mind. So what are the key trends when it comes to Latin American dining? We can quickly go through this. So why is Latin American kind of cuisine growing now? That's because consumers are trading down from fine dining, but they still want something distinctive, something that's an experiment, as it was, like something that gives them an experience. So experiential meals is something they're demanding. And Latin American food travels well also on delivery platforms. For an example, if you think of a burrito, it's easy to pack it and to deliver it. And then also, if you look at the younger demographics, they have social media, they look at what's happening around the world, and they have a sense of the flavor adventure trend. They want to try new things, they want to seek bold, authentic taste. So basically, younger demographics packed by how a Latin American food suits delivery is what is making the Latin American food be something that is demanded. Then authenticity as a competitive advantage. So we said that 56% are willing to pay a premium for this. So that's because they want the full experience. For an example, can we have staff that explain the cultural context of Latin America? That would add brand value. They want something, they don't want just an American based Latin experience. They want something authentic, most likely. They want genuine authenticity when they eat their dishes. So this is a risk, of course, because sometimes consumers might be so familiar with the Americanized Tex-Mex style of Latin American meals, but we offer authentic Latin American meals. So that is a good competitive advantage. If you look at beverage revenue, that's an underexploited lever. So we are told here that especially if you look at Latin American cocktails, Latin America has some of the best, like tequila, all of these things. So can we as a restaurant capitalize on this? Also the Latin American beverages, like if you think of things like Jamaica, I'm just throwing a few names to you. Jamaica, then you could even have rice-based drinks they have made. These are different tastes, but they're definitely something different. So that is also a whole area we can venture into. So therefore, what you need to remember is, what in any question about SoPa's competitive positioning, we need to remember authenticity as a key aspect. So authenticity is very important. We need to look at the fact that when we source our ingredients, they stay competitive, we keep cost as low as possible. Delivery will be a natural extension given the easiness to deliver Latin American food, and basically use the different aspects such as maybe beverages and all to promote and to increase demand and revenue.
So, that was Nisha with a selection of highlights from our full industry analysis. I hope that's given you a much clearer picture of what market SoPa operates in and how that connects to your exam answers. What you just watched is actually a part from our complete industry analysis video, which goes much deeper, covering Porter's 5 forces, the full competitive landscape, the regulatory environment, sustainability trends, and a lot more. The complete video is part of our OCS course at Practices Academy, where Nisha also takes you through the full pricing analysis, exam technique, full mocks exams, with written feedback from Nisha herself. If you're serious about May-August 2026 sitting, everything you need is in one place. The link is in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, please do give it a like and subscribe. It genuinely helps other OCS students find us. Good luck with your prep, and we hope to see you inside the course.